China and India are at the top of a new list that ranks countries by extreme Christian persecution. On this episode, I'm going to talk about what's going on in those countries and the other countries on this new Open Doors watch list. And I'm going to talk to you about some initiatives that the U.S. government has started and what I think they should do to help get rid of this persecution. Welcome to Cutting Edge Faith. I'm Ryan Howard. This podcast is here to help you understand the times, stand for truth, and grow in your faith. And we got to dive in here, and I think this is really going to be eye-opening, and we're going to see just what a great position that the U.S. government truly is in to eradicate and affect this actually around the world. Open Doors recently released their 2025 World Watch List. And some of these countries probably won't surprise you, like North Korea and some other ones, the majority Muslim countries in the Middle East. But I think that China and India are especially surprising, and especially when we see what's actually happening there. Now, I've done episodes on North Korea, on China, on India, on Afghanistan, and a few others as well. If you want to see these, I just recommend you go to ryanshoward.com and type in persecution, and you'll actually see what all the different episodes that I've done. It'll come up with a list for you there. This is a list of the top countries where the most extreme persecution of Christians is happening. And we are talking actual violent persecution, being thrown in prison. And some of this is happening from governments. Some of it's happening from other radical religious groups like Hindu nationalists in India, or like Muslim groups, terrorist groups in Syria. But one of the things that I think is important is that we just understand that this is really happening. And I think it's important for us to know that the U.S. government is really in a very good position right now to do something about this and not just report on it, but to actually effect change in these countries, especially the ones that we're doing business with already and where we're making these big deals. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But if you want to go to, you can see all the episodes I've done on this. I've done them on India, China, and North Korea. It shouldn't surprise you, North Korea is at the top of this list. I've actually interviewed Grace Joe, who escaped from North Korea. She's a North Korean defector, and it's just incredible how God moved to get her out of North Korea. And she's got some tragic things that happened with her family, but you got to check that out. Also, I interviewed Kenneth who was in jail in North Korea, and Rubacek, who was put in jail in China. And so I talked to her about how some of those things are what is done in China is happening in the West as well, in the U.S. even. And so I want to invite you to go check those out. Now, let's just dive into this. I mean, you can see this list. The summary is that there are more than 380 million Christians that are under this high-level, harsh, violent persecution around the world. And that means, it is explicitly for their faith. And that means it's 1 in 7 Christians worldwide. 1 in 7 Christians worldwide is in this kind of persecution. Now, it's 1 in 5 in Africa, 2 in 5 in Asia. And look at this. 4,476 Christians murdered. We have 7,679 churches and Christian properties attacked, and we have 4,744 Christians imprisoned. So this is a real thing. This is not something that is small by any means, and it's something that needs to be dealt with. Now, I just want to give a few examples here, but if you look at what is happening in China today, you can see people are targeted for their faith. If you want to get education for your children there, if you want to get a loan from a bank, if you want to do all these things, you have to operate according to what the Communist Party of China says you should operate. And the thing is, there are over 96 million Christians in China. 96 million Christians in China. That's incredible. And it's one of the fastest growing populations, Christian populations around the world. And the thing is, there's only 90 million Communist Party members in China, the political group. And so there's a lot of people suffering in China. They have controlled churches where they have state-approved churches where they can really monitor what's happening. They'll have other house churches which are technically illegal. And what they'll do is when they find these, they'll force them to come together to start meeting so that they can be more controlled. And so all these churches have a Communist Party member as a part of the leadership of the church. That's all required. I've even heard that China's making their own version of the Bible, which, you could probably guess what they would take out of that. They actually see the Chinese government as God, not there's nothing above the Chinese government in their view. So that's China. There's more to talk about there as well, but India is another one where this is really, I mean, I interviewed a man that had talked about Hindu nationalism and what's happening there. And it's really, it's Peter Friedrich. And it's just insane the things that are happening and the governments are letting happen there. And that is probably one of the most infuriating parts about this, is that these things where the government is not doing it, is they're allowing it to happen. And so in India, I mean, there's violent persecution, people, churches being burned down, attacked, people being murdered, all kinds of things, people being persecuted for their faith. And in that interview, he talked about how there is fundraising happening in the West to fund the Hindu nationalism there, Hinduva, which, I mean, it's just insane what's happening there. And it's happening, and it's gotten worse under Modi, the current president, the current leader of India. And so, and I've been to China, I've been to India, done business there. And so I love the people of these countries, and I've been to South Korea as well, not North Korea, but I mean, the people in these countries are incredible people. The problem is the government, the problem is the extreme people doing the persecution, and or the governments who are allowing this to happen, or even in some cases doing it themselves. And so I think we just really need to bring attention to this. Now, there's a few others as well that I would really highlight. I also interviewed the CEO of Open Doors, David Curry, former CEO of Open Doors, David Curry, and you can check out that. It's episode 156. I also interviewed Lisa Pierce and Weibel Nikolai, who, you know, she was the interim CEO of Open Doors back in 2023, and Weibel Nikolai was actually, he couldn't show his face in the interview because he's on the inside of what's happening in all of this, and didn't want to expose him. But they talk about the barbaric things that are happening around the world as well. And so all these you can check out over at ryanshoward.com. Some of them are on the YouTube channel, some are not. But I want to talk now about what the U.S. government has committed to and what I think they should be doing. Now, the first thing is the establishment of a Religious Liberty Commission. And this was an executive order from May 1st, 2025 from Donald Trump. And this, basically, it's saying it was during a National Day of Prayer event, and it's a 14-member commission that is tasked with identifying and addressing both domestic and global trends within religious communities and threats to religious communities, rather. And it's a mandate that includes a comprehensive report on the foundations of these. It's based on, the foundations of religious liberty in America, talk about the current threats, and also the strategies to prevent and enhance to preserve these religious liberty protections. Now, I think this is great. I'm going to talk about a couple other things here as well, and then I'll give you my thoughts on tying it all together. So, eradicating anti-Christian bias. Now, this is a task force also, and this is really related to this would be led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, and it's a task force that's supposed to be reviewing the federal departments and agencies to identify and eliminate practices and policies that unlawfully target Christians. So this is a great thing that needs to be happening. You need to get rid of it inside the government. Need to get rid of it inside of corporate America as well. It is absolutely happening there. I've got some personal experience and understanding with that I can share perhaps at a future date. But the third one that I want to mention is the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Now, this is it's an independent commission, and it's a bipartisan commission that is a federal entity that should be monitoring religious freedom abroad. And this would be happening around the world. Now, what I want to say is, if you look at the website, you can see they've got news, they've got publications, they've got events. I mean, there's lots of things happening where they're bringing things to our attention, they're bringing things attention to government, all this stuff. But the thing is, we need to see action. And how should the government be using this information? Well, right now, we are in a great position to be using it because we see that Donald Trump is basically restructuring the trade flows around the world. They're basically dethroning China as being able to operate doing whatever they want to do, and doing things unethically, doing things with debt traps with all these countries and other nations. And Trump is basically cutting their legs out from underneath them and bringing people to come and negotiate at the table with the U.S. And so now is the time, because, he's talking about deals with India, with China, and even with Syria. He's talking about removing Syria from removing sanctions from Syria. And, we could see that they're high on the list. They're very high on the list. I'm going to pull up this list and actually give you the rankings here. North Korea was number 1. All right, then we have Somalia, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, and a few others as well. Pakistan is number 8. They're in the news recently. Iran is number 9. Afghanistan, number 10. India is number 11. India, number 11 on this watch list. Saudi Arabia even. All these countries are in the news. We have China at number 15, and Syria is number 18. So all of these countries, look at that. This is a list of the top 50. And all those countries that we are talking about that are in the news today that the U.S. is doing deals with are up at the top 20 of this list. And so right now is the time when we need to be leveraging this situation. We need to use the leverage that we have in order to put pressure on these countries that we do business with to start eradicating this Christian persecution. And the thing is, we're literally in the midst of this, and these countries can do something about this if they want to. And a lot of it, they don't want to because they want the people to be afraid. They want the Christians to not rise up and not have one voice together. They want this fear. And so that's why these governments let this continue to happen. And now, am I saying that we shouldn't have any suffering or any of that? No, you got to be kidding me. There's another ministry called the Voice of the Martyrs, and they equip people in these areas, and it is just incredible. My wife and I are partners with them, and it's just absolutely insane the things that are happening around the world. And of course, Jesus said we would suffer, and all except one of the disciples died. Well, not Judas, but died from being a martyr. John was the only disciple that wasn't martyred. And so, yes, there is a call, and there will be a special place, I think, in eternity for those who were martyred for their faith. But it doesn't mean we stand by and just let it happen. That's insane. We should do everything we can to eradicate it, but we understand God is sovereign. And the thing is, the U.S. right now is in a position to do a lot to help eradicate and lessen this. And if you think about it, even saving one life, one group, one church from being attacked, from being killed, from being attacks, people, churches burned down, families are destroyed. It's just insane what's actually happening. And so the U.S. is in a very unique position. And so I want to invite Trump, his cabinet, everybody involved in these negotiations, Marco Rubio, all of these people, step up, put these countries' feet to the fire for them to actually move the needle on this stuff. We want to see these numbers going down. Now, I understand that things are going to get worse, and I think it'll be like Goshen in the land of Egypt for the Christians, or for the people of Israel. Everything was going well for them, while things were going very poorly for Egypt. And so we can have that. If we know Christ, we can trust God that He has us under His wings. He's protecting us. But we need to do what we can to stand up for these people. And so I want to invite you to reach out to your legislators, reach out to Trump, reach out to all these different U.S. national leaders, and tell them that you want them to do something about this. Tell them that you know about it. Send them this. Send them anything from there that stands out to you. Send them that list. We need to take action on this, and now's the time for our nation to stand up. Now's the time for us to use the leverage that we have in this current situation with all these countries that we mentioned: India, China, Syria, all these countries, Saudi Arabia. All of these, they're all on the list, top 20. We need to take action. We need to see action from our government, and they need to be leveraging this. So, all right, well, thank you for joining. I hope you were blessed by this. Please share this with a friend, and stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more details about this. And go over to ryanshoward.com. Check out any of those detailed ones that you want to check out yourself. Voice of the Martyrs at persecution.org. And also, you can go to opendoors.org and learn more about the reality of what's going on. If you want help growing your faith, you can go over to howtogrowyourfaith.com, get my 5-day educational email course. That's going to take you deep into some actions that you can do to really leverage your faith, to get deep in your faith, come closer with the Lord, and help you avoid the 5 biggest mistakes that Christians are making. If you're watching the video of this, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're on the audio, you can click the link in the show notes to send me a text message. Thank you so much for joining. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.